From there, I kind of want to jump back into kind of earlier in the film where we're introduced to Ben Kingsley's character, who's the doctor of the island, and he's kind of running the operations here. He really this film very much reminded me of the Batman Arkham games, especially the first one where it takes place in Arkham Asylum. And I just couldn't help but my nerd mind go to like that place where I'm like, God, if this was like in the form of Arkham Island or something, like that would be freaking such a nerdy, a crazy kind of thing, which this is obviously not. So don't worry, guys. But I'm like, what if, man? What if they gave, what if Leonardo DiCaprio starred as like a marshal going to Arkham Island or something? And I'm like, oh my God, that'd be so dope. Like, it just gave me that image. I'm like, dude, like, cause this is an insane asylum we're in. And it's like different facilities, different areas, doctors that are kind of sketch and weird and really creepy. It's so convincing. That's what's something I love about this film. It sets up perfectly, like, especially the intro shot of the island. Like, you're here, you're ready to go. And then it dives into, as we go along with the story, it dives into like the weird guard character, then the warden later on. We have Ben Kingsley's character. We have what's his name? Max von Schnow or whatever his name is. That guy who's like the Christopher Plummer look-alike. I'm like, oh my God, Christopher Plummer's in this film. You're like, yeah, he is. Like, as I'm writing the details, I'm like, oh, it's not Christopher Plummer? Is he a long-lost twin? Okay, so you know Force Awakens, David? You know the intro where Oscar Isaac's talking to that old guy? Mm-hmm. That's this actor. That's this guy who plays this doctor
you're right.
Guy.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, like what the heck? This guy looks just like Christopher Plummer. He's the Costco version of Christopher Plummer. Like
he's the great value.
The great value Christopher Plummer. I mean, he's great. He's a great actor.
Yeah, he does a really, really good job.
Yeah, he does fantastic work in this, as well as Ben Kingsley. But Ben Kingsley's like pretty much great everything he's in. Even in some of the films that aren't so great, he does bring his A game to it. Except for that one shot in as well as in 2010, the classic David Prince of Persia movie with Ben Kingsley as the bad guy.
No.
And there's a scene where he's walking into this assassin like cave or no, like building, and like it's so bad. It shows Ben Kingsley. He's like observing all these like master assassins practicing their moves and their gadgets and all that. And then there's this thing where it shoots spikes and darts out of this like gauntlet thing, and it shoots. The guy shoots it, and then Ben Kingsley's like, oh, and it cuts to his face like a really like bizarre and awkward stare, like, oh, and then he just backs away, and the darts hit the wall. It's like the worst acting I've ever seen from him. But that's another film that we're not here to focus on. Anyway.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's not Christopher Plummer, guys. It's not.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Bad news, y'all. Yeah. One thing I do want to bring up, this film, especially with the acting in particular and the writing and the pacing, reminded me a lot of like a middle 20th century film. Like in terms of when this film could have been made. Like it felt like it was a script, maybe taking the language out, but it felt like a script that was from that time that was meant to be portrayed by theater actors. It felt like very much like a 50s, 40s film, maybe even 60s, where the dialogue's fast, you're getting to the point, you're figuring it out, although it's much more comprehensible and it's in this modern lens. And it's really cool because this does take place in the 50s as well. So it feels very much of that era, especially in the acting and the writing and the prowess on screen. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's all portrayed very convincingly. One thing that jumped out at me when we watched this a couple days ago, that I hadn't really thought about before is how convincing DiCaprio's accent is in this movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very much like 50s, like New York kind or Boston, like hard-boiled cop detective kind of character.
To be fair, he has had like 2 or 3 films with just with Scorsese, where he kind of has to fall into that accent as well, I would say. I haven't seen The Departed or Gangs of New York. I do want to watch those films, but I will say, like, he's been a New Yorker many a time, quite a few times. But I don't know, Leo's just such a great actor in general that, I mean, he could pull pretty much anything off. Have you seen Catch Me If You Can, David? With
No,
Tom
no,
Hanks?
no.
Ooh. I never finished it, but it's a pretty good film, pretty good stuff. So, but yeah, he's got a great accent. I think Mark Ruffalo's a perfect like tin foil for him to grasp onto, especially when they're going through back and forth in many different scenes. Ben Kingsley's like straight up, just he's evil, or something's messed up with this guy, because it's like if you're the head of an insane asylum, pretty much in every form of media and real life, it's always bad news bears, man. No matter what you do, so your mind immediately goes there. Something that did remind me of, David, is it reminds me of this film called A Cure for Wellness by Gore Verbinski. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's pretty much, it's not a Shutter Island ripoff, but it very much is like this film. I haven't seen A Cure for Wellness. It's been on like my to watch for many a time. It's got like Dane DeHaan in it. It takes place in this insane asylum. And it's like supposed to be a very creepy horror movie that's very, very messed up. But it reminded me a lot of that, especially just like even the same coloring and the same kind of tones that are in this film and the filmmaking, I would say. But yeah, Cure for Wellness, I need to check that out. Gore Brzezinski's a great director, by the way.